Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ajiro Tech. Ajiro Tech. In this video, you're going to be learning the Cambridge AS and A level Information Technology with the course code 9626. And we are looking at paper 3, which is the theory February March 2026. And this is for the A2 students. This is the first time that we are doing the paper 3 theory right here on this YouTube channel. I am super excited. We've been talking on it, deliberating on it. When it's going to be the first time? I remember the first video we did for AS, and now this is the first theory video on paper 3, and literally the first on the internet space. So I'm super excited to teach you, to explain to you, because this is the part where you're preparing, you're transitioning to go to universities, and it is an honor for me to be here to teach you, right? A quick check, right? If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, right, please do what to subscribe. All you have to do, whether your smart TVs, your laptop, your phone, your tablet, just go here to this link, youtube.com at Ajiro Tech, and subscribe so that you can get notified when we upload new videos for you to learn. We have a student community platform. So all you have to do is to scan the QR code. It is both for the IGCSE and for the A levels. Okay, so scan the QR code, or you can visit this link or this link, and both of them takes you to the same location. It is a fast growing Discord community, and we want you to be part of it, right? We want you to be part of it so that you could collaborate with other students, learn, get notified when we hold last minute classes. And yeah, when it's the season of exam, we try as much as possible to bring in some things to the community. And this time we're coming in with some really, really big things, right? So you really want to be part of it. So please do well to be part of it. Welcome to A2 level IT class. Welcome. So, yep, right? I hope you, in this class, I'm going to be teaching you, you're going to be learning, and we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a good time. Okay. Exam season is fast approaching, and we are a registered private tuition educational platform, right, in the UK. And we have the best tutors across Cambridge and EdExcel. So if you're a student and you need personalized tutoring in any of the subjects you see right here on the screen, right? Do well to send the message to the academic coordination team or the sales team, info@agiltech.com or agiltech@gmail.com. Okay. It's also important that you take a screenshot of this and send it to groups of students you know might be interested, because we don't want situations where students are coming to say, okay, especially for the A2 students, I get information from them that I just heard about you few hours ago or a few days ago. So please, we want to avoid that as much as possible. A2 is very important, especially for the theory, because it is also 90 marks. Even though it's 70, it's also 90 marks. Your practical is also um, 90 marks as well. So you have to do well in your theory, right? If you've done great in your AS, so great, you've had 140, the theory is probably going to take you up to ensure that you get to university of your preferred choice. So theory is very, very important, even though you probably did a little of your best in the practical. So this is very, very important. So please, not just for A2 IT or ICT or AS, across every other subject. If you have a friend that is in need, all you have to do is to send a message to this right here, or send a screenshot to them so they can contact the sales team or the academic coordination team. For teachers, our combo plan is still selling. Okay, so we have the ICT combo plan. If you've been watching the practical videos, you've probably seen that I've shown the what it entails, the lesson slides, interactive quizzes, the scheme of work. I've shown all this so you can see for yourself. And even when you message the sales team, we can message the sales team. They also give you a screenshot to show what you want to buy because transparency is key for us, right? So this is the price for the ICT combo plan. It makes your work easy for teachers. This is for teachers, not for students. I want to make emphasis on that because I get messages from the sales team that some students are requesting the combo plan. We would not sell. We would not sell to students. This is specifically for teachers. Okay, so please take note of that. Okay, we have for the AS IT combo plan. The reason why we're still working on the A2, but AS is very key. Why is it very key? It's very key because it is the foundation to ensuring that you do well in your A2, right? So if you have a 140 over 180 in your AS, that sets you on a very good stand to ensuring that you at least make a C when you're done with everything, right? So that is why the combo plan is very essential, right? Across the topics, right? We have lesson slides, we have um, interactive quizzes, we have topical questions, we have soft copy of the textbook, we have that support you get from me, and it's going for £160 and send a message, right? And not only that, you get chapter 12 and chapter 13, right, as a bonus resource, right, when you purchase the AS combo plan. Yeah, yeah, you get it here. Okay. Okay, so let's get to work. My favorite part. Our first theory video for paper 3, the A2. Let's get to work. Let's get to work. Visibility of HTML element in a web page can be controlled by JavaScript statement that change the style properties. Now you're going to see this in chapter 21, programming for the web. The statement below sets the style property of an element to a default value. So we have document.getElement by id.style.visibility equals to initial. Describe how the statement is used in JavaScript to alter the appearance of HTML element. Now let's break this into parts. Let's break this into part. We have document. We have document. What's document does? Document what refers to the web page. That's what it does, right? The next one is get element by ID. What the get element by ID does is to it finds a specific HTML element using its unique ID, right? So a good example, I'll show you this now. In your HTML, you probably see something like, let's use the paragraph tag. So we have P, we have ID equals to, let's say, for example, message, right? And then we have welcome. And then we have this. Okay. So we have this, right? So JavaScript can find this paragraph using, it's going to find this paragraph. We'll give an example using what? That ID. So here in the ID, for example, we have had by ID, which is what? ID. So now this ID here is the message. So it can find, right, this particular message using the ID because we have assigned the ID right here in the HTML. Okay, so this is very important, right? So what you'll be seeing at the end of the day will be what? Will be that what? The ID. Okay, by ID is message. So they say by ID is ID, so we can do this. Okay, let's make it work. So this is ID, ID, right? So that ID here would now be this. Okay, the ID we have given, which is the ID here. Okay, now let's talk about the style. Now, the style assesses the CSS styling of the element. And we have dot visibility. What does visibility do? Visibility controls whether the elements can be seen. It controls whether the elements what can be seen. That is what it does. Okay, it controls whether the element can be seen. Now, let's look at the possible values that includes with visibility. Now, for visibility equals to, we can have equals to visible, right? Visible means the element can be seen. We have things like hidden. Hidden means the element cannot be seen. We have something like called collapse. It means hide the table rows, right? We have things like table rows or table columns. We have things like inherit, right? Which means use parent visibility. And then we have the initial, which means what? Return to what? The default value, right? So we are setting this visibility, right, which takes it back to the default state. Okay, which takes it what? Back to the default state. They said, describe how this statement is used in JavaScript to alter the appearance. I had to explain this so you understand. They alter the appearance of the HTML what? Element. Now, the first thing we look at is a function. Describe how the statement is used in JavaScript. So we have a function contains instructions that run when called. So it contains instructions that run when called. Remember, this is in a function, right? Now we have, let's talk about the ID, right? So ID refers, they said describe how the statement is used. ID refers to the HTML elements being changed. Right? So, for example, we have by ID, right? So that simply means that whatever this ID is, remember I gave this ID as what? By ID, whatever this ID is, by ID, and they pick the ID here. So this is the ID. So whatever this ID is, whatever this ID is, if it's message, right, it's going to do that. Like I say, it's going to pick it. So if the ID now is message, here will be what? Message. That's the reason why we put the ID there. So it's going to pick it. So that it's going to display things like what? Welcome. So they put by ID, ID, because that ID here, and I've done a lot of videos on programming. You could check it right there, because it's speaking this ID. This ID is what? By ID. So if I change this to message, what will be here will be what? Message. Okay. So if I put it by, for example, let's say notice, what will be here in this ID will be what? Notice. I hope that makes sense. So the ID refers to the HTML element being changed, right? So if the ID is there, that's why I said ID equals to what? ID, because that's the ID they put here. So you understand. So whatever I have there is going to display. Another point is that the ID must be unique. By ID, the ID must be unique. Right? And I'll give you a good example. We talked about the fact that ID is equals to what? Notice. Right? So you cannot have for example, you cannot have, for example, let's say we have, let's give an example about unique. Let's say we have this P ID is equals to notice and welcome, close the paragraph, and then we have div ID equals to notice, right? And then let's close the div without having to put there. Let's close it. Now, you would notice that there's going to be a conflict because ID must identify one element only. Take note. The ID must be unique because, let me add this, because IDs must identify one element only. See that? Describe how this statement is used. So let's talk about the style. The statement changes the inline style. Changes the inline style, right? Because this is now overriding what is there in the HTML. So it changed the inline style because it directly modifies the styling of the selected element. See that? Please let me know in the comment section if you can see my handwriting, please. Another point, describe how the element, okay, we've talked about document, the function, the ID, the styling. Let's talk about visibility. So for visibility, visibility controls whether an element is shown. Is shown, right? And I said here we could easily have styled of visibility equals to what? Hidden, right? Or what? Visible, or collapse, or inherit. So it controls, right, whether an element is what? Is shown. And that's the example we give. Okay, maybe I will just put it here. Example dot style dot visibility equals to what? Hidden means the elements disappear. Okay, so we have this. If visibility is, I think, yes, so I've given 2 in 1 on that. So visibility control that element is shown. Okay, let me put it here as another point. Okay, let me put it here as another point. Let me put it as another point. So that becomes another point. Although they will still, that's 2 points anyway. It will still be marked, but there's something I want to put. Um, although I put hidden, I can also put things like visible, collapse, inherit. But I just want to use that same visibility. So if visibility is hidden, the objects cannot be seen. Right? Then we can now take other ones too. Right? We'll talk about, because I said describe how this statement is used to alter the appearance. So if it's initial, what about if it's hidden? What about if it's visible? What about if it's inherit? We'll start picking them, right? So if visibility is visible, the elements, the element appears normally. If visibility is inherit, the element takes the same visibility setting as its parent element. So take note of that. So when it inherits, it's going to inherit that parent element that has been given. And I think we can add the last one. If visibility is what? Is collapse. Let's put them in quotes. Is collapse. The rows or column disappears. Now take note, this is mainly used in tables. So take note of that. In tables. So hope you understand this. Okay. The content of a web page, right, is displayed in a web browser. The web browser obtains, okay, displaying, okay, the web browser obtains the content from a web server, okay, web browser, web server, okay. Describe in details how the request and response method of communication between a web browser and a web server functions. So we're going to see this under chapter 14, communication technology. Now, there is a sequence that you need to know first, a sequence. So what's that sequence? The sequence is, and I'll give it to you, right, is so you understand what happens with the request and response. So we have things like users enters URL, and then it goes to DNS lookup. The domain name system is going to look it up, right? And then check from, is going to look it up, and then IP address. The, the domain name system is an address book, right? IP address, if it's found, and if it's found, then we have what we call a HTTP or HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol, hypertext transfer protocol secure, makes the request. The request is going to be sent. So once they find your IP address, everything is going to send. And then the next thing that happens here is that the web server, receives the request. Okay. And once it receives the request, the web server returns the web page. And then what happens? The content of the web page is displayed. So browser displays page. Now, at this point, if you enter, for example, ajiroTech.com, DNS is going to check, does that website exist? First, then check the IP for it. Once it finds it, it's going to make a request that this particular IP wants to request this service. And then it receives the request, okay, and then returns it. So that is just what we are looking at here, right? So the user will type ajirotech.com to the browser. The browser will check first whether it already knows the IP address. So it looks on it in either on the browser cache or the operating system cache. If found, then there is no DNS lookup needed. That is, if you have done it before, there's no DNS needed. If not found, it moves to step 2. The browser will now contact the DNS server. And once it contacts the DNS server, we've talked about the fact that the DNS stands for what? The domain name system. The DNS server would convert that ajirotech.com into what? An IP address, right? Into an IP address. Why is it doing that? Why is it converted to IP address? Computer communicates using what? We talk about the binary, right? So it's going to convert, it communicates using what? IP addresses. Humans prefer domain name. right? Computer prefer IP addresses. So the DNS is acting like I think it's an address book, a telephone directory. Take note. It's acting like a telephone directory. I say I'm going to teach you. A telephone directory. And then the request is being sent. So the browser would create a HTTP or HTTPS request, right? This request is sent across the internet to the web server. The server is going to receive the request. The web server receives that request. Now, when it's receiving that request, it identifies the following. Which web page at this point is going to identify which web page, of course, please, I'm not writing, which web page is found, which resources are needed. Example, is it the HTML? Is it the images? Is it the video? Is it the CSS? Is it the JavaScript? And the server would now create a response along with the web page file. This file will travel back to the web browser. It's going to what? Travel back to the web browser. And the browser would what? Display the page. So the browser would read the HTML, apply the CSS, run the JavaScript, display images, the web page will now appear what? On the screen. So that is the sequel on how it works. Don't make mistake by saying, so when the user enters a URL, the browser uses DNS to translate the domain name into an IP address. The browser then sends an HTTP or HTTPS request to the web server at the IP address. The web server receives the request and locates the required web page and associated resources. The web server sends the web page file back to the browser in HTTP or HTTPS response. The browser interprets the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If there's any, you just say and displays the web page to the user. So it's an error for you to say the browser sends the web page. No, a request. We don't send, right? Request. Okay. So take note. And the DNS converts it. And HTTP is a communication protocol. So take note of that. So the web browser can send a request using the HTTP and to the web server, and the web server would receive it and send the response to the client device. That device, which is the browser, that device, which is the laptop you're using, depending on the laptop you're using, would now pass that response to the web browser, right? So if you're using HTTPS, you need to have what we call the transport layer security that converts the HTTP into HTTPS. Okay, so hope this is clear. Network administrator can configure routers to use static router for directing data packets across internet protocol network. So you see, this is what chapter 14, communication technology. So this discuss the benefits and drawback of using a static routing in IP network. Now, let's start with this. What is routing? Imagine you want to send a letter from London to Spain. The postal service must from London to Madrid. Yeah, from London to Madrid. You want to send from London to Madrid. The postal service must decide which road, which airport, which delivery office to use. You want to send a letter, right? A router does exactly the same thing with data packet. It decides which path should the packet take. through a network. Do you understand it? Do you understand routing now? That's what it means. So if you want to send a mail to somebody from London to Madrid, the processor is going to say, how are we going to send it? Is it through road? Is it through airport or delivery office? So the router does that same thing. It will decide which path should the packet take through the network. So when we talk about a static routing, now this static routing simply means the network administrator manually enters the routes into what? The router. That's static. The route does not automatically take note. This is for static routing. Oh, let me clean this. The router, take note, does not automatically discover routes. That is done by the dynamic routing, not the static routing. So suppose we have, let's give a scenario. We have network A goes to route 1, goes to route 2, and then goes to network B. Now, the administrator is going to tell route 1 to reach network B, right? It's going to tell the router. So to reach network B, you have to send packets to what? Route 2. So this route is manually entered. To take note, it's manually entered. Do you understand it now? So let's talk about the benefit. So you can put this as a description of static routing, and you get 1 mark for it if you want to. Then let's talk about the benefits. One benefit is the router already knows where packets should go. So no route calculations are needed, which saves processing power. The paths never changes unless an administrator changes it. This makes troubleshooting easier. Security of packets can be greater because the static routing does not exchange routing information, which reduces opportunities for attackers to manipulate route. Drawbacks. Configuration can be prone to error. The monitoring of routes can be what? Time consuming. The administrator should have complete knowledge of the whole network. If one router fails, then the whole network may be affected. Or you may even have a reduced network performance. Okay. Benefits. All right. Oh, okay. Yes. I was putting them short because of space. I didn't know there was other spaces here. Okay, so let me expand it. I was just making it short because I talked about this time consuming, right? Because large organizations may have what? May have hundreds of routes, which takes time to monitor, right? And let me put this one. As network grows, maintaining becomes difficult. Now, there is no automatic recovery. No automatic recovery. And I will explain, right? Suppose this link fails, and I've talked about it. I said, if one router fails, the whole network may be affected. Now, suppose this link fails. And I want to give an example of what I mean. So you have router A to router B, right? A dynamic route. This is just for explanation. This right here is just for explanation because I've written it down, right? A dynamic router can find another path, right? A static router cannot. So that simply means that the administrator must manually update what? The routing table. So that's what it means. Yeah, must update the routing table. Okay.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for um, a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they will reply to you.
Details of transaction by cryptocurrency are stored in blockchains. Describe how a blockchain stores the transaction details. Now you will see this in, they talked about it a little in chapter 12 for blockchain, IT in society, but was expanded in chapter 13, new and emerging technologies. What is a blockchain? Let's start with that. A blockchain is a distributed digital ledger that stores transaction in blocks, keyword there, linked together using cryptography. So now we are to now describe. So let's think of this blockchain as a digital record book, right? That's what it is, as a digital record book that is copied across many computers. Okay, let me break it down. Imagine a class record book, right? So normally teachers own the only record book of the students. Now, if it lost, what happens? All the record that has been taken about the students is gone. With blockchain, student A has a copy, student B has a copy, student C has a copy, student D has a copy. So everyone has the same ledger, right? If one copy is changed illegally, the other copies reject it. So it has to be the same. Okay. So the structure of a blockchain is like block 1, block 2, block 3, like that, right? So we have like block 1 to like, let's say, block 4, right? So each block contains what? What do they contain? Transaction of data, timestamp for the transaction. Then we have what we call the hash of current block. And then we have another one, I think the hash of previous block, yeah. Hash of previous block, right? So what is a hash? A hash, this word hash is a unique digital fingerprint. Example, Ajiro Tech, right? Ajiro Tech might produce some numbers, right? If one letter changes from Ajiro Tech, right? Let's say, for example, instead of Ajiro Tech, we have Ajiro Tech, 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 right? Like there's a K at the end. The hash becomes completely different. Why is this important? Why is it relevant to what I'm saying? Each block stores hash of what? Previous block. So the blocks are what? The hash of the current block is linked to the hash of what? Of the previous block. If someone tries to alter a block, right? So if the original one is, let's say, block 1, block 2, block 3. Suppose the hacker changes block 1, right? Each hash would what? Change. So block 2 will contain what? A wrong hash, which means block 2 is invalid, block 3 becomes invalid. So the chain becomes broken. It's a blockchain. It's in chains. That's why you have the transaction of data, the timestamp, the hash of the current one, and the hash of the previous one. So it's a distributed data ledger, right? That stores these transactions of block using this cryptographer. And we can think of it as what? As a digital record. I've given you an example of that is copied across many computers. I'll give you an example of a teacher's record book. And if it lost, what happens? The record is gone. But that teacher record book, every student has a copy. So if anything happens to a teacher's record book, there's a copy of it. That's how the blockchain works. So describe how a blockchain stores transactions of details. So blockchain is a distributed ledger stores the transaction here where copies of the data are stored on multiple what? On multiple what? Computers. And uses what? Encryption. Transactions stores the transaction details. Transactions are grouped into blocks, and each block contains a cryptographic hash together with the hash of the previous block. Which links the blocks together in a chain. When new transactions occur, network participants use a consensus. Now, what is this consensus? So I can just explain briefly. Now, imagine 100 computers hold copies of the blockchain. A new transaction arises, example, £50. The computer must agree that the transactions is valid before adding it. This agreement process is called consensus. Why? This makes blockchain secure because if a hacker changes one copy, right, the network compares copies. The majority of the copy shows original transaction, therefore fake copy rejected, right? Okay. process, a consensus process to verify them before they are added. So those computers are called nodes. If you are wondering, they are called nodes. So they are added, right? Changing data in one block would alter the hashes of subs subsequent blocks, making tampering easy to detect. So we are now seeing that um, we are now seeing how the blockchain stores transaction what details, right? We're seeing that there's encryption and the owner knows the key to it, right? And if there's any transaction that has been received, the computers will check that the transaction is valid. They have to agree. That's the consensus. They have to agree before that chain is added, that new block is added to the chain, right? And then the blockchain is going to store it. So if there's any change, what happens? Would alter the hashes of subsequent what block. So this acts as what a distributed what ledger. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Describe two drawbacks of using blockchain to store cryptocurrency transactions. Errors can be difficult to correct. If you're sending it to the wrong person, it's irreversible. Hmm? So it cannot be easily amended. So alter due to what every node having to agree. So if you send it to a wrong address, right? Once they agree, it's gone. So errors can be difficult to what to amend. So large number of computers, we set audio computers, for example, means transaction can take a long time to finalize. Could add another one. Some consensus, some consensus method use what? Significant power. Okay, so it uses significant power. and also transactions cannot proceed without consent. Artificial intelligence, AI, is rapidly becoming part of our everyday life. Define artificial intelligence. So this is chapter 13, new and emerging technologies. So we need to define artificial intelligence. What is artificial intelligence? Now, artificial intelligence, the first thing we need to understand that it is a software. First, we need to understand that, right? So AI is a software or algorithm that can make decision and take actions based on data received from the environment. Another one to put it is that AI learns from the experience and works towards achieving a goal or desired outcome. So let's think of AI as a computer system that can learn, analyze information, and make decisions without being told exactly what to do every time. So the traditional programming that we've always had, right, is we've always had input, processing, and then output, right? So the programmer must specify every step. That's what we've been using before. Now, with artificial intelligence, everything changes because now we are having input, learning, decisions, and then improvement. So this is for AI. This is for traditional programming. Okay. So for the traditional programming, if we say mark is greater than 50, then pass. The programmer writes the value. For AI system, after analyzing thousands of student records in attendance, homework, test, assignment, the AI can predict students how likely they are to pass without explicitly, without being programmed to do that. Does that make sense? Okay. Describe two benefits of using AI. I just talked about it. Talked about what? Analyze. Okay. Learning. So one of the benefits is that can process massive amounts of data. Right? I'll give you an example here. Humans might analyze, let's say, hundreds of records. AI can analyze millions of records within seconds. This is what a bank does, right? Example, bank can detect fraudulent transaction by analyzing millions of what payments every day. It works continuously with what? Consistent results over very long periods. It's important for you to know that AI systems do not sleep, they do not become tired, they do not lose concentration. A cybersecurity AI can monitor a network 24 hours, 7 days a week, and 365 days a year, right? And if you want to add another one, humans might make different decisions based depending on moods, stress, fatigue. AI applies the same rules consistently, right? They make they can apply that they will make that decision applying that rule consistently, right? And also it can reduce human errors. Human make mistake. AI can reduce many repetitive errors. Can reduce that. Okay, can reduce that. So if you want to, I think I've given you four already, but if you want to add anyone, um, can make decisions applying the same rules consistently without any form of bias. Describe two limitations of AI. Well, it doesn't have any, there's no common sense, right? Humans can use experience and judgment to make some things. AI cannot, right? So therefore, AI does not have common sense. For example, a driver sees football rolling onto the road and predicts child may follow. AI may not make the same intuitive connection. May not. It will just keep driving, right? So doesn't. No emotions. Humans consider feelings. AI is going to give it to you without feelings, right? AI is going to give it to you without feelings. Now, in healthcare, a doctor may comfort a worried patient. AI cannot provide genuine empathy. Okay, so it has no emotions. Okay, it lacks creativity. So take note, AI lacks creativity, which means AI creates content using existing data. It does not truly invent ideas in the way humans do. A human artist creates a completely original painting. AI usually generates work based on pattern it has learned. And we see that if you do a design in AI and you want a different design, it will still follow that pattern, right? Except maybe open a new thread. AI have difficult to explain decisions. Many AI systems are black boxes. So they produce answers but may not clearly explain why, right? So, for example, AI loan system rejects an application. The customer may not understand the reason, right? Okay. Now, there's this conception that AI is a robot. No, AI is not a robot. A robot is an AI. So take note. Robots, AI is not a robot. A robot may use AI. Let's use the right word, right? So when you hear the word AI, you think about robot. No, that's why I say it's software. A robot may use AI. AI itself is a software or an algorithm. Okay. And there's always this saying that AI makes mistakes. Now, see, even if you go to platforms like ChatGPT, ChatGPT will tell you that ChatGPT can make mistakes. So you check, right? They may make mistakes, so you have to check. So AI depends on the quality of data and algorithm that you have given to it. So you have to be very careful when using AI. And if you don't know what you're looking for in AI, right, you may get the wrong thing. So take note. TCP or IP suite of network protocol is made up of layers that control the transmission of data packets. The layer include application layer and transport layer. Describe functions of the application layer. So this is chapter 14, communication technology. Now, let's first of all understand this TCP or IP. Think of sending a parcel. You want to send a parcel. Put that in your mind first. What's a parcel? Parcel is, a delivery something that contains your item that you want to send. So before sending the parcel, right, you will write a message, right? So you have wrapped the parcel. You are going to write a message and package it, then add address to that parcel that you want to deliver, where you want to deliver it to. Okay. Now, the TCP or IP works in a similar way. Now, we have application layer, which goes to what? The transport layer, which goes to the internet layer, which goes to the network access layer. Each layer has a specific responsibility. Okay. So this is very important. Now, when we talk about the functions of the application layer, now the first thing, obviously, application layer, what comes to mind? It is used by what? Application to prepare what? Data, right? But let's talk about what does the application layer do? Let's just understand what it does first. Let's understand it. Now, the application layer is the layer, let's understand it first, that interacts directly with software, such as, so you can start putting them web browsers, yes, email, FTP, messaging, and all that, right? So suppose the user opens ajiroTech.com using Chrome. Chrome creates the request. We've talked about that, right? The application layer prepares this data. So the first function here is that it provides network services to applications. Now, it is important to note that application cannot communicate directly with the network. So the application layer acts as an interface. The application layer acts as a what? As an interface. So for example, your Chrome, your Outlook, your WhatsApp, they all use what? The application layer. They can't communicate directly with the network. So that application layer is acting as what? As the interface. Another function is the application layer identifies the type of service. For example, let's say HTTP is what? 80, right? FTP could be port 80. If the service is this, the port is 80. FTP could be port 21. So this helps receiving computer know which application should receive the data. Are we together? So it identifies the type of service. Example, okay, let me just put it well. Example of such service and their port. Okay, so you have HTTP service and we have 80 as port, which helps the receiving computer know which application should receive the data. Okay. Okay, let me add one. That's everything. So identified is 1 mark, receiving is 2. So if you want to put it down, so that's literally how it does. I talked about the service and port. So the service here is another mark, right? So it can add service type and the port number to identify the type of what application sending data. So if HTTP is a service, the port is 80, we could have HTTPS, which is 443, for example. So we could have HTTPS and the port is 443. FTP, the port is what? 21. These are the services, by the way. Then we have what? SMTP, Simple Mail Transfer Protocol, and the port is what? 25. So this would help the receiving computer know which application should receive what? The data. Describe the function of the transport layer. What does the transport layer do? Right, this is still chapter 14, if you're wondering, still chapter 14. What does the transport layer do? So let's look at that. Okay, now the transport layer manages communication communication between devices. Okay, transport. Think of the layer responsible for reliability, delivery, error checking, connection. Transport, right? So the word transport is to manage. That's what it does. It manages communication between what? Devices. So what is the function? The function here is that it adds source and destination port. Example, let's say the source port is 51520 and the destination port is what? 80. This tells the destination computer where the packets should go. Another one is chooses TCP or UDP. Now, the TCP is reliable, is used for, let's say, web pages. Yeah, I think web pages, yes. Emails and online banking, right? It has features of error checking for retransmission, right? Why the UDP, which is fast, is used for video streaming, online gaming, voice calls. Now, this features what we call acknowledgement here, because for the UDP, it doesn't have any acknowledgement and there's less overhead. Okay. The TCP can detect missing packets, detect damaged packets, request retransmission, right? So it checks error and to ensure data arrives correctly. Are you learning? The transport layer, let me add this one. The transport layer uses port numbers to keep traffic separate. So that makes it better because many applications may use because many application may use the network simultaneously. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Two activities occur in the initial stages of a project. Two activities that occur in the initial stage of a project are the creation of a project scope and the identification of success criteria. State the information that should be included in the project scope. So we have project scope and success what? Criteria. What is project scope? Let's start with that. If you're wondering, this is wait, chapter 12, IT in Society, chapter 13, New and Emerging Technology, chapter 14, Communication Technology, chapter 15, Project Management. This is chapter 15. Project Management. So what is a project scope? A project scope defines what the project will do and what it will not do. So let's get that straight. Think of it as a contract between a client and a development team. It prevents misunderstanding later. This is what I want. This is what I do not want. So that's the project scope. Now, imagine Ajiro Tech wants a new student management system, right? And we're working towards that, a new student management system, something is part of our project. Um, the scope may include stored student records, track attendance, generate report. The final project delivered, example, database, user manual, training card. Things limiting the project could be the budget. It could cost maybe £2,000, maybe 3 months, right? The boundaries in terms of what the system will do, for example, manage students, manage staff payroll, right? In terms of resources, things needed to complete the project. So when we talk about the information that are needed, these are the things I have just talked about. Okay, these are the things I've just talked about. So, so what state information that should be included in the project scope? So what should be included in the project scope with what? Could be what? The objectives, the project objectives, that is, we'll talk about the goals of the objectives. So the project objectives and the deliverables. that are expected. And I've talked about it here. What are deliverables? The final product that is being delivered. What should be included? The boundaries of the project, including what is and is not included. What should be included? Identifying constraints, such as budget and time scale. That means as the project progresses, time scale. Can include things like workflow strategy, and WPS. So project objectives one, deliverables two, boundaries or constraint. No, boundaries is different. So we'll talk about the boundary of the project, including what is and what should not be included. Talks about what? Talks about more or less like the workflow strategies. And again, the type of work, methods, or tasks to be used that can fall here as well. So that's three. Identifying constraint, right? So, and also the progress on it. So that's like four. Workflow strategy can, okay, that's five. Think I've given enough of it. Okay, I think so. I think that's fine. Outline of budget falls in the boundaries. Outline of budget talks about constraints as well. So it talks about the constraints. So this falls under this as well. So I think that's fine. And you could include this allowance for any changes in user requirements during the project. Describe what is meant by success criteria. Now we'll talk about success criteria. Of course, this is still chapter 15. A success criteria are measurable conditions. Here. Measurable condition that determine whether the project has been successful. So know that. So that is what it means when we talk about um, success criteria. Now, why is it important? how do we know the project succeeded? Right? And I'll give a simple example. A success criteria may be pages must load within 2 seconds. Another example could be system must support 500 users simultaneously. Right? So these are things we would now check to ensure that it what at the end of the day, the project was successful or not. Okay. So this is very important. So I can put my response here. Success criteria are measurable standards that are agreed at the what? Start of the project and used to determine or determine whether the completed system has achieved its objectives. They are used during evaluation to assess the success of the project. So now we can see the difference between the project scope and the success what? Criteria. So what can I see? What will be done? And here we see how success will be measured. Just finish. Not sure if you understand. We can see the boundaries that we have to define. And here we can see what? We can now define the standards. It's created at the start. And here we can see they are used what? During evaluation. During evaluation. And we'll describe the deliverables, right? And what are those deliverables that we talked about? What are you delivering? A good example is your database, the user manual, the training guides, when the final products have been delivered. Okay, what is coming with it? And then we can now measure what? We can measure achievement. Okay. Describe the benefit of using holographic imaging in medicine. So this is chapter 13. New and emerging technology. What is a hologram? Now, Hologram, let's start with that for you to understand, is a three-dimension image created using light that can be viewed from different angle. Unlike a normal photograph, right? Photograph is 2D, holograms are 3D. Now imagine a surgeon wants to examine a patient's heart. Now the traditional method is to what? Use maybe MRI scan, right? Mentally reconstruct the organ. This can be difficult. Holographic method, the surgeons can view 3D heart model, can rotate it, zoom in, examine internal structures. With this, you can be able to plan surgery more accurately. Okay, more accurately. Do we understand? So that is how we do it, right? I think something like that. Yeah, yeah. So that is just literally how. Now, so what are the benefits of using holographic imaging in medicine? Medicine is not my strongest suit anyway, but okay, no need to buy benefits. They're all there. So one of the benefits is it creates the 3D, creates 3D dimensional images of body parts because we don't know yet what it is, which can be viewed from different angle. So what are the benefits? Angle, which can be used for diagnostics of diseases, used in medicine, helps surgeons plan procedure more accurately and can reduce risk during surgery. Holograms may improve diagnosis. I think I've talked about it. Okay, yeah, diagnosis by making abnormalities easier to identify. Can be used to help patients understand their medical conditions and treatment options. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, okay, can be used. Let me add the last one. Can be used for training medical students.
A lot, and you're like, okay, do you have a private tuition? Don't you have? Do you have? And yes, Ajiro Tech do have a private tuition. So by my right, you can see that we have for the EdExcel and Cambridge IGCSE, and yes, we do have for all subjects. Okay, all subjects. Okay, the popular ones that's always been in demand is mathematics, English language as a second language. Okay, we have physics, we have biology, we have chemistry, and we have um, you know the flagship, which is ICT, just here and there. We also have business studies. So if you're interested for a private tuition, um, I think all you have to do is send an email to the sales team at agiletech@gmail.com, and they would reply to you, talk about your time zone, talk about, and the fee is really quite affordable. Really, it's really quite affordable. It's when you look at it across other tutoring service, I think this is the one that's quite affordable, and you get the very best of service. We also have for the E levels as well, um, and also for the EdExcel. So we have for the Cambridge E levels and EdExcel E levels. Okay, and we have also across the subject mathematics, which is usually the hot cake when it comes to E level, mathematics and chemistry, and then biology. These are usually one of the ones we have in demand always, all the time. Even physics, for E level. So all you have to do, if you're watching this right now and you are interested for a private tuition, then you can do yourself a solid, okay, and send an email to the sales team at agile@gmail.com, and they'll reply to you.
A data flow diagram shows the flow of data between elements. DFD is incomplete. It should show the flow of data when a passenger inquires about a bus ticket for travel to and from a city, buys a bus ticket for the travel. Complete the DFD by drawing the missing symbol around each element and adding arrows to show the flow of diagram. Now this is chapter 16. Chapter 15 is project management, chapter 16. And this is the system life cycle. System life cycle. And this is under the analysis. Under the analysis stage. So take note, this is under the analysis stage. Now, what is a data flow diagram? Let's understand this thing first. Let's understand this thing first. Now, a data flow diagram shows, it shows how data moves to a system. It does not show program code. It does not show hardware. It does not show processing sequence. It shows the data. It shows where it comes from, where it goes, and how it is processed. Remember, it's incomplete. It should show the flow of data when a passenger inquires about a bus ticket to and fro, where it's from, where it goes, and buys a ticket for the travel, how it is processed. So there are four components of a DFD, a data flow diagram. So we have external entities, which is what? The source or the destination of data. It shows the process, which is what? The changes data. It shows the data stored. Stores data. It shows what? The data flow, which is what? The movement of data. And I'm going to give you a good example. School library system before we proceed so you can understand what I'm saying. So we have the student in a school library system, right? We have the student, borrowing book, the library system, and the book database, for example. When we talk about external entities, it is a person or organization outside the system, right? A person or organization outside the system. It could be customer, supplier. Then we'll talk about process. This simply saying that it takes data in and transforms it into something useful. So calculate the total, validate login, for example. Then data stored. It holds data for later use. For example, customer database, employees record. Then data flow shows what? For the data flow, it shows what? The movement of data. Okay. So, for example, order details, payment data, student information. So let's go back here. I will note that the reason why they are important is that it helps analysts understand existing systems, right? And before you build a new system, to understand the existing system. So that gives you an idea on how to identify problems like missing data, like what we have here, or even duplicate data. So clients can now understand diagrams more easily, okay, more easily um, than any technical documentation. Okay. So to do this, I'm going to put an over here and an over here. And then I'll put this for the process. And for this as well. And also here and over here for the ticket displayed. Okay, so passenger can make an inquiry. And this goes here. Ticket creation system is here. And then the ticket is displayed. So sorry. Okay. We have the ticket here. This is the passenger details. Information about buses into the city is stored, data stored. Okay, so let me just explain this. Data flow is the arrow. Data flow is the arrow. Data stored is something like this. Okay, or this. The process is this. The over is used for the data source. So use the oval shape like this, over, not a circle, over. Use an oval shape. And over. Okay. So data stored is going to be this. Information about city bus into the city. And this goes like this and like this. Ticket creation system reports to the bus company. Then there's another one like this. And it goes here as well. This goes to this. Then goes to this. Yes, the information about the buses to the city is this one. Then update information is this one. Update information about the buses is this one. Okay. I think that's all. Yeah. Video content can be accessed and watched on a smartphone using data streaming. That's chapter 14. Communication technology. Describe what is meant by data streaming. So data streaming is the continuous transmission of data so that it can be processed or played before the entire file has been downloaded. So let's look at it this way. Downloading a video without streaming, you wait for the video to download finish and then you watch the video. For video streaming, data would arrive, video starts playing, more data arrives, video continues playing. That's the sequence to which, and you can watch immediately, right? We see this data streaming in YouTube, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon Prime Video. Why is streaming important? Why do we need it? Why not just wait for it? Imagine a 4 gig film, a 4 gigabyte film without streaming. You have to download 4 gigabyte, probably take you some several minutes, and then you watch. But with streaming, you press play, you watch immediately, more data arrives, and you keep watching. Okay. So this is very important. One of the most important concepts we want to talk about is buffer. So a buffer is a temporary memory used to store incoming data before playback. Okay. So very important. So you have immediate benefit of playback. No need to wait for the video to download. And if the large storage that is required, file does not need to be permanently stored. So this is just an idea to show you what we're talking about. So it's a continuous transmission of data. That's 1 mark. So that it can be processed and play. That's another 1. That's 2 marks. Okay. So that's 2 marks already. Okay. Describe 3 benefits of accessing and watching video content by data streaming. So the 3 benefits is no need, to wait, for the whole file to be downloaded before you can watch it. You can access large files without the need for local storage. Benefits of accessing and watching video content by data streaming. You can access and watch a video file on multiple devices simultaneously. Data streaming can be used to access and listen to audio content. Apart from audio and video content, state what other use of data streaming. Monitoring, network activities, for malicious activities. and add for other tracking events such as stock or shares. A software engineer has created a banking app. The engineer wants the app to have a long lifespan. Analyze the software, analyze the software maintenance in the lifespan of the banking software. So this is chapter 16. System lifecycle. What is software maintenance? When we talk about software maintenance, this is modifying and updating software after it has been what? It has been implemented. Okay. Okay. And we have 4 types of maintenance. Take note. We have types of maintenance. We have corrective. What does the corrective does? To fix fault. We have adaptive. That simply means what? Adaptive means to adjust to new environments. We have perfective. That means what? To improve performance. We have preventive, to prevent future problems. Analyze the role of software maintenance in the lifespan of the banking app. So we talk about analyze, right? What we are simply saying is that we are going to look at what it is, and then we get to now analyze them one by one. Okay, so let's start with um, software maintenance. Maintenance is the modifying and updating after it has been implemented. Types of software maintenance, so we can put those ones, are corrective, adaptive, perfective, and preventive. So we can pick them one by one if that's one way we want to go. You can pick them one by one to say corrective fixes fault. Um, you can pick them one by one. So let's start with corrective. Corrective maintenance fixes faults that are discovered during use. Adaptive maintenance changes software so that it remains compatible changes software that remain compatible with new hardware or software or even the legislation. Perfective maintenance update software to reduce the risk of future faults or security problems. Or security problems. And these activities sorry, I think there's an error somewhere. Sorry. That's not this preventive. Sorry, this is not perfective. Preventive. I was wondering. Update software to reduce the risk. That's preventive. Perfective maintenance improves existing features or performance in response improves existing features in response to user requirement. And these activities ensure the software remains effective throughout its operational life. Okay, so let's analyze some rules of software maintenance in the lifespan of the banking app. I think there are still spaces here. Okay. Maintenance is a continuous process we need to analyze the role, right? Throughout the lifespan of the banking app. We know that issues can arise during the lifespan of the software. Engineers are prepared for error correction that occur during development. Remember, has created a software engineer has created a banking app. The engineer wants the app to have a long lifespan, so they are prepared. Now, during the maintenance, errors are analyzed. Solutions as well to errors are found. And it's also to ensure that the app works properly throughout its lifespan. And finally, maintenance acts on reported errors. Okay, so we have come to the end of this. It's been a long video from chapter 16 to chapter 14. We didn't see chapter 18, MailMate, chapter 19, graphics creation, chapter 20, animations were not there. But the rest, we pretty much saw it, 16, 15, 14, 12, not really. I think it was in reference to chapter 13, new and emerging technology. So new and emerging technology. So so that is it. So please go through, and our AS combo plan is available. Our ICT combo plan is available. Send a message to info@agiretech.com or agiretech@gmail.com. And please go through it. If there's any question, you drop it in the comment section, and I'll do my best to be able to attend to it. The worksheet will be sent to the teachers that have gotten the AS combo plan. Okay. And so thank you, right, for learning. And please do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you have not joined our student community platform, please do that. Scan the QR code, or you can visit this link or this link. And it's our first video, so it wasn't bad. A lot to learn, and I hope you've been able to learn. There will be more of this in the coming weeks, so please prepare for that. And thank you, and bye for now.